Hello everyone and welcome back to the Belgian Beer Brothers channel. Cedric here in Antwerp with yet another brew review. And just like we returned to Bogdijk in the last video, we are returning to Brasserie Burgonde in Vitteaux for this one. Because we have Le Blanche de Vitteaux. Yeah, there is a trend amongst French-speaking brewers to call their weizen or their wheat beer just Blanche de. We have Blanche de Namur, we have a bunch of Blanche beers from a certain region, but in their defense, in Dutch we do the same thing. We often say, for example, Brugse witte, which is Bruges white. So I think it's sort of a tradition, and I don't mind. When it comes to packaging, pretty much the same thing as in the other Bière de Vitteaux from Brasserie Burgonde. Bière vivante non filtrée, non pasteurisée, de fermentation haute, brassée traditionnellement et réfermentée en bouteille. So, lively beer or living beer, unfiltered, unpasteurized, top fermented, brewed traditionally and re-fermented in the bottle. Brassé embouteillé à la brasserie, so brewed and bottled in the brewery. I have visited this brewery. It's about the size of my office. But it is absolutely creative and beautiful. Oh! Ingrédients: eau, maldoche, blé, avoine, sucre, houblon, épices et levure. And this is intriguing because this is water, malted barley. I think this is wheat, of course. Yeah, blé is wheat. Sugar, hops, spices or herbs, and yeast. But avoine is a word that I don't know in French. So for the first time ever you will see me looking shit up. So let's see what is avoine. Oh, it's oats. Okay. I guess we're all learning here. So apparently malted barley, wheat, oats, sugar, hops, spices and levure or yeast. I'm getting thirsty of all this learning, so let's have a taste. Ooh. And apparently le levure, the yeast, has been very, very active. So the réfermenté en bouteille, the re-fermentation in the bottle, has gone on for quite a while. And I do see a lot of yeast residue floating around here, and a very, very active, very extremely highly carbonated beer. I'm seeing a trend here, even though this is from the Bourgogne or Auxois region, which is about 600 kilometers into France, coming from Belgium. And the last beer, the Bogdijk Blood Orange Weizen, was about 350 kilometers up north in the Netherlands. So take into account Belgium is in between those things. Let's say 200 kilometers diagonally. These are about 1200 kilometers apart. So there should be no correlation. Now, first off, this is more like a weizen. I would expect quite pale, quite yellowish, very, very active, very, very carbonated, large bubbles, but as you saw, this was almost a gusher. Nice white foam, a lot of foam, very thick, very persistent, not moving at all. But beautiful color though. Of course I get a lot of carbon dioxide in the nose, which is not much of a surprise, but I also get a lot of malt, or no, that's not the right word. It's a bit malty. I get a slight acidity as expected from a wheat beer. But I think I mainly smell the herbs, the spices, mainly coriander basically. Yeah, it's slightly acidic wheat by smell and that typical coriander aroma. Also a tiny hint of sweetness in there, which really throws me off. So, let's have a taste. Cheers. Oh my. Very unexpected, a very different flavor as opposed to the aroma. It tastes quite, I'd say heavy, quite dark. I get a lot of malt in the flavor, which is something I absolutely didn't expect. Also, I thought a lot of carbon dioxide, but it really smooths out when tasting it. So it's not as much as it looks. It also has a nice, well-rounded, almost creamy mouthfeel. Although it does have a lot of protein, it has wheat, it has oats. So I see where it came from. Still didn't expect it. Yeah, I think he used a lot of coriander in this one. But it is very nice. Also, this is a 5% ABV. I kind of forgot to mention that. But it tastes a bit heavier. Like when tasting blind, it's still quite heavily carbonated. Not as much as it seems, but it's still quite heavily carbonated, so it boosts the alcohol awareness, let's say. So it tastes like a 6.5 instead of a 5, which is practically always better than the other way around. But nonetheless, it is different. I kind of like this. It smelled slightly sweet, but in the flavor there's nothing sweet about it. Also, now I come to think of it, quite hoppy. I get a lot of bitterness in the back of the throat, the roof of the mouth. So it's really tingly. It's really working on those glands and everything. So yeah, quite nice. Now let's see what this gives with the yeast. And I always like to make that comparison, like careful pour and then with everything in it. Of course, when possible, if it's all flaky and nasty, I won't do this. But this is quite doable. I don't have to drink with my teeth closed because of all the flakes. So this is, yeah, this is still doable. Right off the bat, a bit more yeasty, a bit more bready. Surprise, surprise. A bit sweeter as well. Well, most of the times when adding the yeast to the glass, it gets a bit more bitter, but this smells a bit sweeter. Yeah, that is very nice. Again, this is a very subjective idea. This is a very personal thing. I know that. If I do this with a duvel, people yell at me from all sides and all kinds of things. But it all boils down to preference. Most of the time when adding the last drops of a bottle, that tiny bit of yeast that is still in there, that is lodged on the bottom, oftentimes it really smooths out the flavor, so it gets a bit softer, a bit more bitter, but a bit smoother as well, a bit silkier. And that is a very lovely feeling if that is your thing. In this case, absolutely works. And by doing so, I think I actually elevated my score a bit. Same goes for the aftertaste, by the way. It was quite aggressive, quite bitter, and slightly acidic. And now it really evened things out. So we get a way smoother, way more polished, well-rounded aftertaste. I was thinking of giving this a 275. But while adding the yeast, I think I accidentally bumped it up to a 3, maybe a 325. But in doubt, let's call it an even 3. But yeah, very nice. Darn. As usual, the devil is in the details. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching again. Thanks for sticking with me. If you have any suggestions, comments, whatever, leave them down below. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, and if you want to support this channel, share a video or visit the Patreon page, or why not both. If you want to see more, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you'll get notified whenever I upload something, and you guys will see me in the next video. Cheers!